We help people have a great retirement lifestyle, and often we use superannuation as a strategy. Now, superannuation is fantastic because you may have heard that you don't pay any tax on any of the income that you earn within superannuation when you retire. There is a bit of a downside, and it's what we call the death tax. Now, I should say it's a potential death tax because it may not occur, but what I thought of today is I'm just going to step through slightly on the benefits of superannuation, but I'm just going to focus a little bit about the death tax as well, and some potential ideas that we can do to minimise it. So just as a bit of a recap in terms of superannuation, I'm going to use my swimming pool analogy where we put money in. Now, there's two ways to put money into superannuation. One is where we're getting a tax deduction, and this may be where you've claimed a tax deduction, you've used salary sacrifice, or the contribution has come from a company. The other way is where you've put money in personally. On your superannuation statement, you may never have noticed it before, but when the superannuation statement comes out, they've actually recorded how much has come in from each source. So from a company, it's actually considered taxable. And on the other side, it's considered tax-free. Now you're probably thinking, sorry Rog, right at the beginning of this video, you said superannuation when you retire is tax-free. So I'm just going to go through 3 examples just to explain this a little bit further and why is this relevant between the tax-free and taxable. So when you're alive, when we are accessing super, what we have to do is we have to take the money out, and it's zero tax on each side as we say, but we have to take it out in the same proportions as the statement says. So let's just say, for example, we've got 50% tax-free and 50% taxable. We have to take it out in the same proportions. We can't say, oh, let's just take it out of the taxable side, or let's just take it out of the tax-free. We've got to take it out in the same proportion as the statement says. Now again, while you're alive, there's no issue because both sides come out tax-free. Now, if you're in a relationship and one of the partners passes away and the superannuation goes to your dependent or your partner, guess what? They can continue on and it's still tax-free from superannuation, which is great. They can continue generating an income and there's no tax. But this is where the clanger is. If you both pass away, and this can happen in an accident or just ultimately, as we know, eventually that's going to happen. And this money then goes to potentially what we call non-dependents, say adult children, for example. Now the tax-free side, this still comes out tax-free. But if you do have adult children and it's not going to a partner, this is what we call the potential death tax, 17%. So you can imagine it's a really large amount, huge benefits for super, so we don't want to ignore that, and we're not paying tax for potentially decades of our life, but we do, or we may need to consider what this death tax is all about. Now the good news is there's 3 options to minimise this tax. The first is to spend all your money. So you can imagine if you live through to 90 or what have you, and you've basically exhausted your super, no more balance, so there's not going to be no tax. So the first way is just to exhaust your super in your lifetime. The second way, and this doesn't really happen, we're not all that often, but in some cases, if you're ever in that situation or you know like your parents or what have you, they've seen a doctor and they've said, we don't have long to live. You know, maybe it's a couple of months, couple of weeks or what have you. At that point in time, this is this scenario here, if we take money out while they're alive, there's no tax. But if unfortunately they pass away, we're in this scenario where it's 17% tax. So if you do know of anybody who doesn't have long to live or they've been given an unfortunate diagnosis, it's really important to get advice because you may be able to save that death tax if you take the money out while they're still with us. The third way is a little bit more complicated, and I really recommend you seek advice. So please reach out if you've got any questions, or certainly I can help you or put you in contact with our team.